The Gauteng Department of Education will allocate 3 million rand in additional funds to the National School of the Arts. The school had reached out to its alumni pleading for assistance as parents battled to pay fees during this lockdown period. Newzroom Afrika's Mnisi spoke to the Gauteng Education Department spokesperson.
The good news is that the National School of the Arts is not closing, but it's still in financial distress and has called on its alumni and other stakeholders to come through and assist it with funding. It says it needs about 5 million rands in the next 3 months, but the Department of Education in Gauteng has stepped forward to come and assist the school in terms of making sure that they continue delivering services and education to the learners. To speak to us more about the additional funding, I've got with me Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona. Steve, thank you so much for your time. A school in dire need as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but you've made a plea, or rather you've pledged money into assisting it. How much exactly are you pledging here?
Well, we can confirm as the department that we'll be giving them over 3 million rand, just as an addition to the over 1.4 million rand that we've already provided to them. You'll understand that this is a school of specialization. I mean, we have relaunched the school last year with other 2 schools in Benoni, and the other one is in Pretoria. So there's no way that this school will close, because the model of saying we need schools of specialization in the province, we said we want to change the narrative, want to change how learners are taught in the province. We want them, when they finish their grade 12, there's something that can still assist them to can go in the corporate world if they need to, because they practice, they experience what the corporate world would have been giving them. So it's a model that we want, and they will continue to launch more school of specialization in different disciplines. So we felt that there's no way that the school will close. We will then give them that allocation in addition to what we have already gave them, so that then they continue with the process of teaching and learning. But what we want to do is just to encourage parents, those that can be in a position to pay. We just want to appeal with them. They need to do that so that we assist the process, because remember, the school fees will assist with the payment probably of your SGB posts or teachers. And it's important that we need to continue with that, because teaching, it's quite important in the scheme of things. So we need that resource to be respected. So parents need to assist us with that process of paying, those that can, but those that can't, they must also interact with the school and indicate on what is it that they're going to do, or why are they not paying, so that the school can guide them and assist them on what to do. But we are quite happy that the school will not be closing, and they will continue to support them.
Let's talk about the deadlines and how you're planning to, make this payment. Is it a once-off payment? How are you going to be making this payment, and by when?
Well, it cannot be in phases. It will just be a once-off payment. But remember, it's based on their business plan, on what is it that they're going to utilize this money for. Because as a department, we also need to monitor it very closely to check on what is it that they are using it for and how are they going to be using it. So monitoring will then assist us to continue, make sure that the money is used for things that they would have put on their business plan. We are looking at the target by end of August. We should be in a position to say we have already transferred the funds to them, so that they can then continue with the process of teaching. So it's very important for us to support the school, and we'll continue to do that.
All right, let's talk about, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on these schools of specialization. You say in Gauteng you only have about 3. This is quite concerning, that even schools are at a point where they could possibly face closure.
Well, we have actually launched over 10 schools of specialization. This one in the performing arts, we have 3 schools that are lumped into one, which is your school of specialization. So The other schools, we should be in a position to monitor very closely on what is it that is happening in and around their parent body behavior in terms of the payments, and guide them accordingly. But all schools would have received their allocation, and those that need an additional allocation, they will then have to motivate on why they need to get them additional funding. And after that motivation has been taken into consideration, and the HOD will then be approving or disapproving depending on the motivation, then they will then be allocated the money accordingly. So indeed, COVID has affected most of the schools, and hence we are encouraging those parents that are in a position to pay. Let's do that.
All right. There you have it, Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona speaking to us about that 3 million rands that they'll be making towards the National School of the Arts, which has reached out saying that, well, it's in dire constraint, dire strain as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Steve there emphasizing the issue of parents paying school fees, those who can afford to still pay school fees. We do know that about 40% of the parents in that school are unable to pay school fees, and that is why it is where it is at this point. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Mnisi in Centurion.